Next on Sisterhood of the Second Act.
Martha Young is an educator. Her career as an English as a second language professor has taken her all over the world. Young has taught English in war-torn countries, which led her to start adding nonviolent communication approaches to her course content. Cheryl Miller Lackey made a career out of numbers. Lackey retired from Virginia Western Community College as Vice President of Finance. Now she's using the other side of her brain and living her passion. She is painting and runs a studio and gallery. We will meet these women on this edition of Sisterhood of the Second Act.
Sisterhood of the Second Act is brought to you by... There's more inside the Hemp Mill than CBD products. There's a community. Stop in for Friday's Coffee Talk to enjoy free hemp coffee and treats. Patent-pending products made from hemp for anxiety, pain relief, and organic healthy eating. Cannabinoid products you can trust because the hemp is locally grown, processed, and formulated by us with patent-pending formulations. That includes our Pet Calm and dog biscuits. The Hemp Mill, women-owned and operated with nutritional offerings, local cards, gifts, jewelry, and trending fashions made by women-owned businesses. TheHempMill.net.
I'm going to be an oak tree.
I think I'll be a dogwood tree.
My kids say they be looking for a thorny tree for me.
With Evergreen, you can be a tree. Our biodegradable urn combines your ashes, natural soil additives, and a native tree of your choice. Be a tree and grow for tomorrow.
I want to be a tree.
Learn more at evergreenmemorialtrust.com.
Hello friends, I'm Carrie Poff, the owner of Brown Hound Tree Service. We provide safe, quality tree care and removal to homeowners and businesses in the Roanoke Valley and Smith Mountain Lake. Licensed and fully insured, we are a member of the Tree Care Industry Association with an ISA certified arborist on staff who can help you assess your trees. We provide seasonal care and pruning to complete tree removal and stump grinding. We also offer kiln-dried, live-edge slabs and other wood byproduct from locally and sustainably salvaged trees. We don't let your trees go to waste. They will live on through local artists and craftspeople. We are Brown Hound, Roanoke's premier tree service. Please call us today at 525-9787 or visit our website, brownhoundtreeservice.com.
From the Fox Radio Roanoke studios, here's Kathy Heberle.
Welcome to Sisterhood of the Second Act. I'm Kathy Heberle. Martha Young slowed her career in education to raise her children. She went on to get a master's degree and initially became an English as a second language instructor and teacher mentor, then trainer. She's here to tell us about an amazing career that has taken her to Turkey and most recently Afghanistan. Thank you for joining us, Martha.
It's my pleasure.
Tell us about the evolution of your career. You raised your children. What led you to the decision to get back to your dream of teaching?
I actually had a series of dreams. And I didn't know if I was going to go back to what I was doing before, but I had a series of dreams. And in the dreams, I was in a different room, but it was the same. And it was like a slideshow, and I was instructing, and there was every type of cheekbone, jaw, nose, skin color, eye in the world. And then slideshow, and then another dream, and I was working with people from all over the world. And I went to a professor friend and I was like, okay, I've had this series of dreams now for about 21 days. What does this mean? And he was like, oh, that's teaching English as a second language. You need to get your master's. And so I went back to school and got my master's to launch that.
Okay. So how did you end up with a gig as a teacher in Turkey?
Okay, that was the State Department. So in the State Department, there's different sectors. They have culture and education, and they have a program where they want professionals like myself in the field to go over and work with English language instruction in different countries around the entire globe.
So what was your role in Turkey then?
it was a lot of fun. My role was I got to teach English. Most people that go over, they wind up working, forming a partnership with a university. And my assignment was a little bit different, where I did some, I worked with mayors in a city hall, basically, and then they had education centers in that, like New York City has boroughs, Ankara, Turkey has, different parts of the city, like a borough.
Okay.
Yeah, and I worked in their education centers, I trained teachers, and then I joined the American Embassy efforts, the American Embassy efforts in Ankara, with whatever training they had going on across Turkey, like east, west, north, south. They would say, Martha, there's a project, so.
Excellent. We are talking with Martha Young, an English as a second language professor who has traveled around the world. And you mentioned in an earlier conversation that fear plays a major role in the educational system in Turkey. Can you please explain that?
It was a tricky one. When we were traveling around Turkey and we were working with, they were K-12 instructors of English, I wanted to get them talking before I just went at them with my presentation or I went at them with my PowerPoint, because I wanted to understand, in this pocket of Turkey, what's the zeitgeist, what's the ethos of the place, what are the teachers working with? And I noticed that in 2 or 3 different grades, they would say fear. So, I guess I assumed when I was asking the teachers, what are your challenges in teaching 5th grade? What are your challenges in teaching 9th grade? That things like, standardized test taking would be a concern, or the kids can't sit still, or whatever. But this word fear just kept coming up again and again and again. The kids are afraid, kids are afraid, kids are afraid, kids are afraid. So I went to work on where does that come from, which, if you go into the education system, then you also have to look at the family system, right?
Right. That makes sense. Yeah. So the makeup of the students in a Turkish classroom is challenging. Tell us how that brought about you adding nonviolent communication to the curriculum.
Oof, okay, bit of a story. Turkey is not without its conflicts, and there are different terrorist groups, and they all have different agendas. Some people think that the religious people aren't religious enough, and others it might be a militia arm, like a paramilitary group. So there are people vying for power and creating conflict, and so for every bomb that goes off in Turkey, there's a signature to how the bomb was built, and there's a signature to how the whole event takes place. But regardless, in my humble opinion, what seemed to happen was that the now president would get on the television and say, it was the Kurds that did it, even though the signature of the bomb was indicating, something different. So then what would happen, me not knowing the difference initially between Turkish people and Kurdish people, and I didn't understand the deep feeling between the two, I would notice some of my students would go missing after a bomb. They wouldn't come to class for 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, and then finally they would come back. And if I can use that word woke, it was a woke Turk that came into my office and said, this is what you need to know, that when that happens, when there's violence and there's a televised protest, about it was probably this group that did it, they are harassed. Like, buses won't pick them up when they get to school. Cafeteria workers won't serve them. Even if they want to pay in a snack bar for food, they will be refused service. And in the hallways, you don't know the languages well enough, but in the hallways, they're harassed as well. So that got me to a point where was working with up to 25% of the university population where I was. And I was like, no. We've got to do better than this. And at that time in my life, I had a peace education professor at another university in Ankara, and she was like, you need Dr. Marshall Rosenberg. You need nonviolent communication techniques in your classroom. Let me introduce you to his work. And that was it. I kind of came in through the back door. I dove in the deep end of the pool, and I've been swimming there ever since.
Oh, that's amazing. So tell our audience, what is nonviolent communication?
Nonviolent communication, and I'm not going to say it as beautifully and poetically as the founder of it, Dr. Marshall Rosenberg. It is an approach to humans connecting with humans and with compassion. And it's based on what are the needs. Like, there's no conflict on earth that would, well, sorry, that's an overstatement, but almost every single conflict begins because of unmet needs. So if you can acknowledge there is nonviolent communication works with this list of what they call the universal human needs. And it doesn't matter if you're in Brazil or Burma or in Ireland, that this list has been proven to be core to human needs. So let's understand what the needs are, understand what the feelings are, and have a better conversation.
That's amazing. How did it change your classroom dynamics once you started implementing?
People weren't seeing people, and people weren't listening to people. And initially, I had to put the brakes on some of the course content and build in an extra 15 or 20 minutes of we're going to do better than that. I saw what just happened, and I would stop class and it would kind of surprise students, but we can do better than that because this room is filled with glorious humans that all have something very precious to be listened to and to give. And we're going to find that in the other before we go any further. And just bit by bit weaving in some of these techniques and approaches from nonviolent communication, I found they went into groups. I found they finished their group work, their pair work. I saw them meeting for lunch and coffee. Amazing.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. We are talking with Martha Young, an English as a second language professor who teaches nonviolent communication or specializes in nonviolent communication. So, you also spent time in Afghanistan.
I did.
How did you end up there?
There was American University of Afghanistan was recruiting, although I didn't know they were recruiting, and I just met people that were working with the university. And apparently, because of what I had done with and for the State Department, and subsequently in Turkey, it was just a perfect fit for what they were wanting to do in Afghanistan, which was more on the teacher training side, like going into high schools, like an outreach into the high schools from the university to work with teaching methodology. And so that was my baby. Okay. And I also taught at the university.
So after your experience in Turkey, I'm going to look at this. Did you immediately include the nonviolent communication in your classes?
Yes. Even my writing classes, it doesn't matter. I mean, I saw what happened. People being able to see people being able to hear people. And I was like, okay, this is it. And it went into, it goes into everything I do.
Okay. So what are you doing now, Martha?
Okay, so I have recently come to Roanoke, and I understand there may already be a nonviolent communication practitioner here, but I have yet to meet these people, but I am stopped and I am spoken to by people who say, I need what you have. I need what you're doing. Like they enter a communications snag at home, or maybe they're not feeling heard at work. And there are ways to move into these necessary conversations with kindness, with compassion, so that you know where you are and you're taking care of you, but you're also considering the needs of the one that you're with or that you're in the conflict with. So I have been asked, can you put a workshop together? Can you put a course together? Can you work with me, with us? And I'm like, well, okay, let's do it. So through the Well Nest and also through Glow at Salem, I will be offering a workshop and a course.
That's fantastic. Thank you for joining us, Martha.
My pleasure.
We'll have Martha's contact information on our website, sisterhoodofthesecond-act.com. When we come back, we'll meet a woman who has gone from VP of Finance to painter and gallery owner. Sisterhood of the Second Act continues after this.
I'm going to be an oak tree.
I think I'll be a dogwood tree.
My kids say they be looking for a thorny tree from me.
With Evergreen, you can be a tree. Our biodegradable urn combines your ashes, natural soil additives, and a native tree of your choice. Be a tree and grow for tomorrow.
I want to be a tree.
Learn more at evergreenmemorialtrust.com.
There's more inside the Hemp Mill than CBD products. There's a community. Stop in for Friday's coffee talk to enjoy free hemp coffee and treats. Patent-pending products made from hemp for anxiety, pain relief, and organic healthy eating. Cannabinoid products you can trust because the hemp is locally grown, processed, and formulated by us with patent-pending formulations. That includes our Pet Calm and dog biscuits. The Hemp Mill, women-owned and operated with nutritional offerings, local cards, gifts, jewelry, and trending fashions made by women-owned businesses. TheHempMill.net.
See where a grateful nation remembers its heroes, and where Thomas Jefferson came to relax. Where small town charm is just down the road from big outdoor adventures. Find peace and quiet, as well as the sounds of family fun. Destination Bedford is located where the Piedmont Plateau meets the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia. Where ordinary ends, Bedford begins.
Once again, from the Fox Radio Roanoke studio, here's Kathy Heberle.
Welcome back to Sisterhood of the Second Act. I'm Kathy Heberle. Cheryl Miller Lackey retired from a career in finance and chose to live her passion. For her second act, she opened an art studio and gallery and creates her own art. Thank you for joining us today, Cheryl. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm not originally from the Roanoke area, but it has become my home and I love it here. Can't imagine living anywhere else now. But I grew up in the Shenandoah Valley, up near Stanton and Waynesboro area, in a small little community in western Augusta County. And it was a very rural area of the county, and so I had a lot of experience growing up in nature and being on my grandparents' farm. I'm a proud graduate of Buffalo Gap High School, which was in Buffalo Gap, Virginia, which is also a very, very small town, a very small community. I attended James Madison University and got my degree in business from JMU, and then went on and got my master's degree from Eastern Mennonite University in Harrisonburg. And I moved to Roanoke in 2007. I have 32 years and 9 months of state government accounting experience under my belt. I retired in February of 2016 from Virginia Western Community College as their Vice President of Finance and Administration. But while I was here in Roanoke, I met my husband, Mike, and we got married, and we'll be married 8 years this coming October.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But between the two of us, we have a dozen grandchildren. So
wow.
We have a very happy, full life.
I love it.
Huge Christmases, and all the children like to celebrate their birthdays at our house because we have pizza parties and we have cake and ice cream. So
It sounds very social and very fun. So I understand that you have made a significant career change in the last few years. Can you please share with us when and how that happened?
Yes, absolutely. Well, I mentioned that I retired from Virginia Western in February of 2016. But one of my goals in life was always to do art, to go back and to do art and to pursue art as a career. When I first went to college, I wanted to be an art major. And my dad, who was always very practical, was really concerned about that as a career choice. He wanted me to pursue something that I could make money at and that I could support myself, and so I chose business as a career. But always in the back of my mind and in my heart, I felt that I was an artist, that that's really what my calling was and really what I needed to do. And while I was really successful throughout my career and I enjoyed it and it was fulfilling for me, my goal was always to go back to what I love. And so when I retired from Virginia Western, I knew it was my time. So I began to paint again, and it's not like I started over. I had been painting some throughout my career, through the years when I was in a position to be able to do so. But you know, women are very busy, so we have children, we raise families, we are married, we have a career, we have all these things going on, and a lot of things come between us and what we love.
Isn't that the truth, for sure?
So I'm so excited to be able to share that for me, it felt like life was starting over after retirement. The opportunity to do what I'd always wanted to do was in front of me, and I'm so excited about it. And to really, I guess, share how involved I've been with my art since retirement. I have probably painted over 400 paintings since 2016.
Goodness.
I am a prolific painter. I paint every day that I can. I feel like I have 30 years of it built up, and it just has to come out.
It's coming
now.
out. I like that.
So I love that. I had a nice studio space in my basement right after I retired,
Sure.
which was very comfortable. And I've just worked really hard to sort of begin to regain the skill level I thought I had at one point. And just to become, just to get better and to get better. And part of that, was also reaching out and beginning to do shows throughout the valley. So
I was just going to ask you what goals you might first establish for yourself as you were starting a brand new career.
I had lots of goals for myself, and and I just sort of hit the ground running. And because I'm 63 years old, I start to think, how much time do I have left? I'd like to have another 30 years of doing art, but I'm trying to get it all in there as quickly as I can. But just getting started and doing what I love has been just such a rewarding thing. And doing the shows, I love to meet people and I like to talk to people, and it's really gratifying when someone purchases a piece of art that they love and that they love, and it's going to a good home. That has always been, really rewarding for me. So
I love that. So what inspires you to paint, and are you a self-taught artist? I think our audience would love to hear some details.
Well, I am a self-taught artist.
Okay.
Although I will say that when a person says that, I think it's not always completely accurate.
Sure.
Because I think we're all influenced by other artists that we meet and people that we talk to, and whether we take formal instruction or not, we're always learning from other people. And I think that I really do that. I mean, I love to talk to other artists. I like to ask them how they do certain things, and so I'm always learning from someone. And during the pandemic, I took an online art class, and so I had this whole online Zoom group, which was totally different, and it was fun, and so I have had some of that, but to talk a little bit more about what inspires me to paint, I'm very much drawn to nature.
Yes.
So I love trees and grass and the water. You know, I love to paint reflections in water, and I love to paint rocks, and the rocks that lay in a stream bed underneath the water.
Oh, I love that.
And to be able to get the detail of that. So I'm really drawn to painting those types of things, and mountains. I love to paint all of that. But then beyond that, you know, I grew up a country girl, so I spent a lot of time on my grandparents' farm. I love to paint old barns and wood grain. I love to paint wood that's aged.
It does. It has a unique texture.
It has so much texture, and it has so many different colors in it. I love to paint an old truck. You know, they're rusted, and if they have holes in them, and it's just so much fun, I think, to be able to capture that. And so I love things that are nostalgic, things that I remember when I was a young girl, and things that gave me pleasure.
So do you go on location to paint, or do you take photographs to help you?
I take a lot of photographs. Okay. All the time when I'm traveling, and you know, and my husband's used to this, but I will just yell, "Stop!" You know, and we have to back up and take a photograph of something that I've seen that I think really inspires me to paint. So I think a lot of artists are that way. We're always looking for, you know, something that, you know, we just see, and we just know we're inspired by it. One of the paintings that I did during the pandemic was a painting of a young girl swinging upside down in a swing. And it sold immediately. It's gone. I mean, I no longer have it. But I called it World Upside Down because I remember doing that as a little girl. You know, how we would swing on a rope swing, and we would swing upside down, and our hair was, you know, flying, and our feet were up in the air. And during the
really
pandemic,
enjoying ourselves.
Yes,
right?
and during the pandemic, it sort of felt to me that way, that our world was kind of turned upside down. So, you know, it had like a double meaning. But those are things like that, you know, things that you just think about and you're feeling at the time, they just kind of come out in what you do.
We are talking with artist Cheryl Miller Lackey, and I'm really enjoying this. So what encouragement would you give our listeners about making a change or pursuing their passion in life?
Well, I think it's just so important to do what you love. And I know I've heard that all my life, you know, to if you're doing what you love, it never feels like work, and and you should always do what you're passionate about. You know, those cliches have been out there forever, and we've all heard them. It's so difficult sometimes to make that part of your life. Right. I think, and you know, and it's been difficult for me too, but I would say that no matter when you write that chapter, you need to write it. For me, and I'm an avid reader too, and so I'll put it in this perspective, I think that we're writing a book. You know, I think every chapter of our life is important. All of them are. Right. But to leave a chapter out that's important, to me, is you know, something that none of us should do. And so for me, it's really important that I get this chapter in. It's always been important to me, and it has to be in there. I mean, it has to be part of what I do. And no matter when you do it, you have to do it. And I think that's just...
Absolutely. Your
really
passion
important.
comes through, and I think that's very encouraging to other people. So are there any remaining thoughts or advice that you would like to share with our listeners?
So I think that everybody should sort of take stock in what they're doing and why they're doing it, and determine what really makes them happy.
Very, very good.
And try to figure out how to make that happen, and not to be afraid, because I think, you know, time is something that none of us know. You know, we don't know how long or how much time we have. So it's so important to include those things that make us happy.
Thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure having you. We will have Cheryl's contact information on our show notes at sisterhoodofthesecond-act.com. We'll be back to wrap up the show after this.
Where there is nothing, artists see something. Where there is silence, they hear a melody. Where there is beauty, they create even greater beauty. In a region known for its beautiful mountain surroundings, our vibrant arts community makes the Allegheny Highlands a more colorful place to live and visit. Our passion for the arts is endless, and it's uniquely Allegheny.
I want to thank Martha Young and Cheryl Miller Lackey for joining us today. From Martha, we learned to be aware of who's in your space and share it, and to become a better listener. And from Cheryl Lackey, we learned the joy of finding your passion and pursuing it, no matter what stage of life you are in. I'm Kathy Heberle. Join us next week for another edition of Sisterhood of the Second Act.